to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to the virtual studio of Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. When you opened your eyes this morning, did your mind take the fast track into the worries and concerns of the day, or did it pause for a moment for gratitude?
I love it, Ruth, and welcome, everyone. We haven't been live for a little while. We definitely missed you.
Today, we welcome to the mic Dr. Bridget Williams. Dr. Bridget Williams is an established board-certified family physician with over 20 years' experience and the CEO and medical director of Green Harvest Health. She is a speaker and product developer. Her practice at Green Harvest Health in Pinkerton, Ohio, provides the only medical cannabis and life coaching office in the state of Ohio. Dr. Bridget hosts a CBD education series, a holistic wellness series, and is on the teaching faculty at the Cleveland School of Cannabis. There is so much more, but we will allow Dr. Bridget to unravel for us her experience and the service she provides. Welcome, Dr. Bridget Williams.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I am excited to be here. I've been wanting to get here for a while. So it's great to see Ida again and to meet you, Ruth, and have a chance to talk and chat. So absolutely. So, I'm going to start from the top. How did you get on this road?
Absolutely. So I am, as Ruth said, I'm a family physician. Nearly 20 years I spent at the Cleveland Clinic, and I got frustrated way too early. I felt that on this road, every patient came in, there's a diagnosis and there's a pill. If you don't like that pill, wait, let me give you another one. You got side effects from that one, I got one more. And I felt like I knew more. I felt that I could offer so much more. And my patients were frustrated as well. And so at one point, with all of this kind of frustration bubbling up, I decided, why don't we do something different and get you off of medication? And so I started scheduling patients. Instead of every 15 minutes, I'd schedule a few patients on my lunch and at the end of the day. So I had time, right? And we started working on how you got to the diagnosis: diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol. We started looking at what would make you change? What would make you change your lifestyle? And we all know motivation is fleeting. We all have our New Year's resolutions, and if you're lucky, you get 3 weeks. If you're lucky, some people get 3 days, right? And I realized we had to move beyond motivation, and we had to focus on determination, something that you could not afford to fail at, something that was so deeply rooted, deeply felt, that you were determined. You'd wake up in the morning thinking about it. You had to get there. And it took time to find that place for each patient. But once we would hit that mark, then I started talking about diet and exercise. And I was taking some of these patients off of medications every 6 or 8 weeks. And that was the moment that my career changed. One of those patients had just recovered from from breast cancer, just was diagnosed a diabetic. Daughter was ill, had mental health issues, and she was completely overwhelmed. And she mentioned cannabis. And I'm a Reagan kid. So I was like, oh, just say no. And, your brain and frying on the egg and the paint, But I would always, it was during a time there's a lot of homeopathic things going on. People would ask me about cinnamon and spices and can this help? And so I would always look it up and give them my medical opinion. And so when this person started talking about cannabis, I was like, yeah, I'll look it up.
And I was shocked. I was shocked to see the medicinal possibilities, the research that was out there from, around the globe. And I started following her in her journey. I started feverishly getting involved in reading and helping with titration and dosing. And I saw her losing weight, sleeping better. Her blood sugars were normalizing. And so at that point, I knew that this was something I needed to be more involved in. So, of course, that was 15, 16 years ago. Fast forward to a couple years ago when medical cannabis became legal in Ohio, and I got certified. I got, hired by a company that said you don't need to know anything. We just write cards. So I declined, and I decided that, I put my time in, let me get my own office. So I got certified as a cannabis educator as well as a life coach. And I currently have 3 offices in Ohio where we provide medical cannabis certification and consultations, as well as life coaching. And we also have our CBD line as well. I know that was long. I'm sorry.
That is perfect. That is perfect. So we got a comment from, let me just show this. We've got Leah Moore.
Wow. Yes. So yeah, Leah is a wonderful, loving, and passionate person that I work with. So absolutely.
Hi, Leah. Good to meet you.
Your passion is so evident.
Yes, it is.
The commitment that you showed over those years and the courage to step away from traditional medicine into which you have been inculcated, and to have the willingness to open your eyes to what your patients were telling you. Mm-hmm. That is so commendable.
Yes,
because many people don't have that courage to say, oh, well, there is another possibility. There are a whole lot of people who are not going to like me, but there are going to be people who need me. And because they need me, they're going to welcome me.
Yes.
So that's what I hear. I hear that type of commitment, which is just awesome.
Yes, I appreciate that. It's not always easy to jump in with both feet, and not sure if you can swim.
Right.
but I could swim.
Yeah. You actually had already had all the equipment and all the knowledge.
Absolutely.
You just needed to get in there and do it.
Yes.
And you have to understand, for our listening audience, that we have had a wonderful conversation with Dr. Bridget prior to going on the air. So
we just didn't go on the air, right? We're like, forget it.
we were having a good time.
Yes.
So this is, as Ida was saying, we have had an association with Dr. Bridget prior to this event, because she is also an author and she was in an anthology. But we're not going to go there because we just want to hear all about the cannabis and what it does, and how to work with our doctors, and how to have the courage ourselves to give ourselves that opportunity to step outside of the norms of Western medicine. So take it away, Dr. Bridget.
Absolutely. So I think, Ida had said in our previous conversation that you have to train your doctor. And I'm sure just saying that makes many physicians cringe. But in reality, you have to be a different physician for every patient. And it is really part of your responsibility to let that physician know what you need. That you have to do, because you can't go into that office, they're spewing whatever they're spewing, and then you walk out and say, well, they didn't give me what I need. Well, then you didn't ask, right? And if they cannot provide what you're looking for, then it's just not the right one for you, and that's okay too, right? So part of being in this more cannabis space is that we not only provide an alternative option in treatment, but we also focus on educating the patient, empowering the patient, right? And then working from a place of empathy. And so where there are places where you can get in and get your card in probably 10 to 15 minutes flat, our visits are going to be a good 30 to 45 minutes, right? And then we do free follow-ups, because the more you know, the better you're going to do. And that's the end game, that you're doing better, that you are finding a new way to not only receive relief from your symptoms, but that if you listen to your body, it will tell you when you're hungry, when you're thirsty. It will tell you as you learn cannabis when you need more CBD and when you need more THC, right? And if you can click into that, your natural endocannabinoid system that's in your body that brings balance to your body, paying attention, you will do what it needs to do to be in a good place. So it's work, but the reward is worth everything. So
absolutely.
Right.
So Dr. Bridget,
Yes.
explain to us exactly what CBD and all of these different, because I think a lot of people don't really know, what it is.
Right. Absolutely. So I think starting is to understand that this is coming from a natural plant, right? That none of this is it should not be, but it's an all natural plant, not chemicals, but compounds, right? That interact with your body. There are receptors that these compounds connect to. Okay. And it is connecting to a system called your endocannabinoid system. So you're familiar with your cardiovascular and your respiratory, your endocrine, your reproductive, your muscular, you're familiar with all these systems of the body. The endocannabinoid system is the umbrella. It is the system that brings homeostasis or balance to all of those different systems in your body. Okay. And note, this wasn't really understood until about the very early 1990s. So it is going to be foreign to most people. And it definitely is foreign to most physicians. It definitely didn't come up when I was in medical school. Right. And so having an understanding that there is a system here that brings homeostasis is number one. Number two is that CBD is this compound that helps repair those receptors, that helps your natural endocannabinoids. You have compounds in your body that mimic THC, okay? Or I should say THC mimics your natural compounds, right? Mm-hmm. And that helps in that balancing process. CBD allows your natural compounds that balance your body to last longer in the synapse so that it can do its work better. So all it does is enhance what's already there and make sure that it runs properly. In addition, CBD binds even better to the receptors of all the other systems that I mentioned. So it actually works in the endocannabinoid system overall, but then will connect to serotonin receptors to increase the effectiveness of the serotonin so that it will decrease feelings of anxiety or depression, right? It will help with your gut and help with balancing and digestion. It will help with healing your skin and repairing the oil and too much oil, too little oil, and balancing that out as well. Even for myself, I've had eczema, as many Black women have eczema for one reason or another. And it was horrible. I had, scars and scabs and everything else, used steroids for years. When I finally started using CBD, there's no evidence I've ever had it. Okay. And because it heals the skin, right? And what is it most known for? Pain and inflammation, sleep and anxiety. Right. And so finding out what your body needs and being able to utilize it in a way that's effective is really what CBD is all about. I consider it the cake. It is the cornerstone of cannabinoid medicine, and THC is simply the icing on top of the cake. Right. So as long as people talk about THC all the time because that's what makes people give you the euphoric effect and what have you. But CBD is really the cornerstone. And that's what, if you're buying products over the counter, that's coming from hemp, right? Mm-hmm. And so, so that's where you should start your focus or get that incorporated into how you utilize it. Mm-hmm. And then it's not addictive. It does not cause a euphoric effect. You're not going to be high from it. It's not, I've had people ask me, is it a narcotic? It's nothing like that. It simply is a compound that helps with your endocannabinoid system to work properly.
Okay. And then THC is the more euphoric effect, and that you will see more of it in cannabis plants, some of it in hemp plants, right? But more in cannabis plants. And again, it's the icing on the cake. It's wonderful for pain. It's great for sleep. It can help. I mean, there's so many different disorders that it can help with. Tourette syndrome. It can help with Parkinson's disease. I mean, it again, it's still working with that endocannabinoid system. It mimics our natural endocannabinoids that are in our body and helps bring the balance that our body needs.
Wow. Well, what is this? What's it? Leah. Leah is really on it today. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We got one more from her.
What are some things that might deplete it?
Yeah, that was my question. That
Right.
was my question.
Right. So that, see, like,
Thank you, Leah.
absolutely. So,
Thank you, Leah.
So yes, our endocannabinoid system doesn't always function as well as we would like, right? And so there's something called clinical endocannabinoid deficiency disorder. And so between and why it doesn't work well, I don't think we're clear on. But it does mean that your natural endocannabinoids might be depleted, that you're not producing them as you should, that the receptors are somehow having some sort of error, so it's hard for the compounds to bind to them. And so when this happens, what they have found out is that there's certain disorders that we find difficult to treat. Fibromyalgia, migraines, irritable bowel syndrome, okay? Some forms of PTSD. So these are all ones that people know it's hard to get those under control, right? They have found that many times these disorders are linked to endocannabinoid deficiency disorder, and that actually starting with a CBD regimen can start the process of getting it under control. So I don't think they have a clear understanding of why someone's endocannabinoids might not be working as well. But, the more legalization we have, the more research we have, right? And in the meantime, there's huge pockets of research all around the world, but we're doing better in the US. We're getting more research out there as we have more medical programs and more adult programs across the country, that research follows in suit with that.
I think we have one more question from Leah.
Yes. Oh, okay. So can you talk more about the euphoric effect of cannabis? I think so many people are afraid of it, that the thing that keeps me alive on the day my PTSD intrusive thoughts are loudest of all. So people are definitely, so the big question that I get from many of my patients is that they're afraid of being high. They don't want to be high. They don't know what that means. And if you look at the media, if you look at movies, they draw this picture of what euphoric effect looks like. They make it seem like it's like you're hallucinating, right? They have rainbows and, and you know what I'm talking, right? Those movies where it's like, and no, that, I mean, I guess if you really went over the edge, but no, that is not what happens, right? And so because we tend to have a more comprehensive program, I definitely have more older patients, more ill patients than I think some other practices. And so this comes up a lot. And I often tell people it's nothing more than probably a good glass of wine for most people, which they find to be like, because they're thinking you're someplace out in outer space. And if you say, well, it's not a lot different it's different, but it's not much different from a glass of wine. Okay. So that's one way to kind of bring people back to earth, right? The other thing is that it is for PTSD, there are kind of two pockets. So she was talking about for PTSD. There's some where that euphoric feeling is very uncomfortable for them, and they actually try to avoid THC because it's very uncomfortable. And then there for others, it is very calming and pulls them out of that intense anxiety quickly. And so is really almost a necessity for stabilizing that
when you get that trigger that pushes you over the edge with PTSD, the THC can pull you back. Okay, so that's kind of what Leah is mentioning there. Okay, for others, that is a really uncomfortable. That slight feeling of not being totally 100% in control can make someone more anxious, right? And so with PTSD, it's, there's kind of two pockets with that. And part of my job is figuring out what side of that you're on and making a recommendation that suits your experience. And for those people, it's much more CBD, which is a little bit slower and calming. And like I said, you don't get a euphoric effect from it, but it's much more kind of like balancing, I guess. People ask, what does CBD feel like? It feels like normal. And what does normal feel like? Yeah. How do you explain normal, right? But that CBD feels like normal. And THC is kind of like it's the icing over normal, I guess. I don't know.
It's interesting because that was an awesome question. Thank you, Leah.
Yeah.
I see what like you were saying earlier, that you're part of the Reagan generation, just say no.
Right.
I'm part of the prior generation, which was like, and that's what a lot of older ones remember. They remember being high or watching their friends being high and some of the dire consequences. So they're a little bit more reluctant and resistant. I'll say resistant.
And sometimes resistant.
The older ones, myself included, are saying, well, you know what? If it works, it works.
Yeah.
Right. And if I cannot have a whole half a table full of medicine that is making me sick than I was before I started taking it, I'll take my chances on the CBD. I want to know what it is. I want to know how it works. And I want a practitioner who knows it, familiar with it, and can guide me through the process of making that change.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So that leads us to, how do people connect with you?
Yes. So I can easily be found. My website is greenharvest.health. So it's not a .com, it's a .health. Okay. You can directly email me, which I have no issue with, is Dr. Bridget at greenharvest.health. And that's probably I'm on social media. Actually, I'm Dr. Bridget on Facebook, and I don't really my children have to help me with Instagram. I'm on there, but I'm not good at it.
And it's okay. I
don't get it.
Yeah. The older we become, the more we need young people to tell us how to do it.
I got the Facebook thing. That Instagram, I just keep pushing until something happens, right? So I don't get it, but I'm on there, and if you I will figure it out. I promise. So
yes, absolutely. And okay, I know you mentioned that you do training. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So I have a couple different opportunities. Talking to people and educating people is really my sweet spot and warms my heart, right? So I have a couple of different opportunities where I educate people. So if you're starting from the beginning, I actually have a CBD series on the Cannabis Hub. So it's cannahub.edu.com. And so if you go to cannahub.edu.com, I have a full CBD series. That the nice thing about it is that it's short 10-minute little talks, so that you're not sitting for 5 hours listening to me, God help you, right? But they're very just short talks that allow you to learn more about CBD, like, one-on-one, right? And if you are interested in doing that, there is a code that will give you 30% off. So if you put in Dr CBD, so that's DR CBD. It will give you 30% off. And it's a great way to start your CBD education. In addition to that, my clients that are either making products with me or are selling our products, because we do direct sales, wholesale, or white labeling, have the opportunity to do something called the CBD Business Series. So the people that I work with will often ask me questions. I answer them, and I often say, oh, you should, I'm really sharing what the people that influence me tell me, right? And so I decided to create a lecture series where the marketers, the attorneys, the label makers, the processor, the people that I work with, they either do a lecture or I interview them. And those people have opportunities to participate in that. And to participate, they simply donate to my nonprofit. So it doesn't go to myself or the people that we're interviewing. It's simply an opportunity to make sure you have a better opportunity of your CBD business to run properly and to have better sales. So,
wow.
So that's a part of it as well.
Yes, and we'll make sure that we put this information at the end of your Facebook description and everything, so that in case people wasn't able to write it down, they can go there and get it. Yeah. Wow, you're coming back.
Oh, I hope so. Absolutely. No, you both are wonderful, and we have a whole nother set of things that we could talk about, of course.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. So, you might even be a series here, because there's so much to talk about. It's just not enough time
to talk about it all.
To talk about it all. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm sorry, Ida, even where I live, there are cannabis clinics everywhere. I mean, they have just popped up at infinitum. And I know even my reaction when they first started showing up was like, oh, what is that? What have they brought into my neighborhood? What is this going to be like? So there's a whole level of ignorance, or I'm not going to call it ignorance, lack of knowledge.
Right.
So without the knowledge, we lack perspective. So I really appreciate that you came today and spent time with us.
Yes.
And gave us a first-hand dose, and our first dose, perhaps for many of us, of what this is all about and how it can benefit us.
Absolutely.
So thank you so very, very much.
Absolutely. And that you explaining it took it to a whole new level.
Well, good. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy for people to reach out, and I look forward to sitting down with both of you again.
And that'll be real soon, because this is something we have to keep going so that people can understand it's not what you see on television. Right.
It's not what you see on TV. No.
Well, thank you again, Bridget. We truly, truly appreciate you and love your energy around this. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Your business, through Just Minding My Business Media, has exposure on internet radio, major social media platforms, and now TV. Through Just Minding My Business, dynamic digital marketing platform. Don't listen to the word on the street. Hear it for yourself. Visit jmb.assistercircle.org to learn how you can take your business, your vision, to the next level. Voiceovers by RCH VoiceWorks, for when you want to be heard. Call 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.